So I want to give you some instruction about how you can provide helpful feedback for the interim report. I just want to remind you that the goal here is to help your classmates to do a better job and also to learn from the process of giving feedback on how you might be able to improve your own report. So seeing things from a different perspective on a project that you're not invested in can give you a perspective that will help you do a better job with your own work. So as you know, the first section of the report starts with hypotheses, and I would just like you to restate basically their hypotheses. You're going to write, they thought they'd make X number of dollars. You're going to fill in that blank. You'll write, they thought they'd make so much per hour. Their second test was, and then you're going to explain their second test. Remember that for this assignment you should have a second test in which you are not just testing whether something will sell, but you're trying to test something else of how you could improve. So one test is a customer segment test where you record who you try to sell to and categorize them. I've given you a table for that. And that will help you to know if your customer segment, the customer segment that you hypothesize, is more likely to buy than those who are not in your customer segment. You could also do a test of customer relationships in which you vary something like you try to sell both through Instagram and face-to-face. You could compare the results that way. That's another type of second test. Or you could choose something else altogether where you're just trying to figure out if you vary one thing, are your results better? So you could vary a lot of different things. If you have questions about that, you can ask me. That should be clear as they report in their second test. So you're going to explain. Their second test was, and then explain it. And then finally, you're going to say, does this seem ambitious and realistic? So I have this little chart here, down here at the bottom. It should be ambitious and realistic at the same time. You know, you want to try to figure out how can you make the most amount of money per hour on this project. So we want to try to go for ambitious, but also realistic. And so you want to make any comments on how they can improve on the hypothesis section. So again, hypotheses come before you actually do any action. Then we're going to give some feedback about the customer development process. So I want you to write out, they spent X number of hours. So how many hours they spent. And then I want you to rate them on a 1 to 10 scale. It seems to me that their level of effort is blank. You're going to fill that in on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being the highest. You're also going to write, it seems to me that the degree to which they correctly follow the lean startup process is blank. You're going to fill that in 1 to 10. And then you're going to make any comments on how they might be able to improve that. Again, they have some time before they actually turn it in to me, so your feedback can be helpful. Then you're going to look at their results. So they should have a table that looks kind of like the one that I have here below. This table is set up to test customer segment information. So I've shown 3 different ways of classifying customers according to gender, age, and number of trips per month. They're going to have different names for their columns, most likely. If they're doing a test that is not about customer segment, if they're testing Instagram versus in person, they're going to have a column that says Instagram, and they're going to have a column that says in person, and then they're going to make comparisons that way. I want you to fill in these lines. They made blank number of sales attempts, which resulted in blank number of sales, and made blank number of dollars in revenue and blank number of dollars in profit. So if they don't have that, you might want to comment on that if anything's missing. And then you're going to say in their additional test, they compared blank to blank. So as I said before, they compared males to females, or those under 25 to over 25, or Instagram to in person. And the 2 most important numbers they found as a result were, so look through their table. They should have a table. Hopefully they highlight what is important there, but if not, you go through and say, what do they see with their numbers? And then make any comments that you need to make. And then in the insights section, they should use numbers. Just state, did they use specific numbers to show insights for their pass-fail test? The major insights were, and then you're going to cite the numbers that they use. What numbers did they actually use? They should be using percentages or fractions, 20% sales success or 10 sales out of 50 sales attempts. Then I want you to look at their logic. Did they really think about the results? Did the numbers show anything that were kind of interesting? Did they actually look at their numbers and then make any comments about that? The whole point of using numbers is to try to learn something that you couldn't quite get from just trying to sell. The final thing that you're going to think about is clarity. So can you skim this report really quickly? So is it skimmable? And do the photos make you think that they did a good job? Does it look interesting and informative? Again, does it look like they actually did the work? Did they use graphics to make it look professional? Make some comments about that. Finally, you're done with the report, but I want you to think about this feedback process and did you learn anything? You don't have to write that in the comments to them, but you're here in university classes because you're trying to learn and change and be better. Did you learn something from them? Did you learn anything by giving feedback that applies to your own project? Try to think, is there something that you could do different before the final presentation with your own project? That should be enough instruction so that you can give great feedback to whoever you choose to provide feedback for on this interim project report.